What kind of problem are you looking at? What is it? Are you just reading the book and seeing K? Huh?
Yeah, I was just reading the book before I did the homework.
So it's kind of, they really make it seem a lot more difficult than it is. So if I had 82 data points, you with me?
Yeah.
And I want to know P76. How do I discover that? What are the two steps? How do I get P76? Oh shit.
Organize.
Say again?
Organize.
Sure. So it's in order.
Oh.
I like it. So what would how do I find P76?
Well, you get
22.76 divided by 82.
No. 0.76 times. So I want to do 70. So the first step is 76% of 82. So what they call K, you with me?
Mm-hmm.
Remember this? And why does that make sense? So don't just memorize shit. See why it makes sense, because then you don't have to memorize as much, and you just do what makes sense. My God, I don't know a lot of math. I know a few underlying principles, and then I can do a lot of shit with it. So I don't memorize everything I can do. That would be I would be in the gutter somewhere just mumbling myself, because I wouldn't know how to life, because I'd have to overwrite it. So if I want to find the data point that's 76% of the data below it, I'm going to go 76% of the way into the list. That only makes complete sense. Now, here's what the book does. The book calls this K, so their little formula is K over 100, right? Mm-hmm. Because how do I make that into a decimal? I divide it by 100. Okay, so they're making it seem much harder than it is. And they do a few things that you don't have to do. You can just do it the way I showed you. They just really overdo it, I think, with these stuff. But so it would be 0.76 times 82, whatever the hell that is. It's roughly 62.
Yep, 62.32.
What'd you get? 62.32.
32.
So where is the answer going to be? Which one?
the 63rd.
63rd number is the answer. So of course I'd have to give you the list, but you can go find it. First step is where is it? Second step is go get it. Okay. That's all he's got in his life is that car, so just give it to him. Or her. I mean, could be. More likely it's him. Okay. Anything else about percentile? Anything from homework? Anything else? Is that all right? So you don't have to do the book method, but you can. They will agree for the most part. But for small samples, there could be disagreement, because for small samples, percentiles don't mean as much. And for big samples, the way they do shit matches exactly with the way I tell you to do it. And that's where it's important. Yes?
So, for example, for the quadrants, would the question state that please find the quadrants or the 5-number summary?
Oh, 5-number summary.
Or something like
Sure.
that, instead of like, basically the question will ask how the percentage we find, right?
Yeah, can you
It has
give
to.
like examples of how would you ask like the percentile?
Like that.
But
Find
you just-
P70. I would give you a list of data, and I would say find P76.
Oh, okay.
So you have to know what that symbol means. I'm not
Oh,
going to say find the 76th percentile, because P76 means that, right? I'm a math person. We're scared of words, so we try to, not really, but we try to be more efficient, right? So you have to know the language I'm speaking. This is actually going to pop up every now and again throughout the whole semester. So forever, big ass P with a little subscript number means that percentile, right? Okay. Is that all right? Anything else from homework or in general? Yes.
Honestly, when I was taking the test right now, I realized that I really didn't get the levels of measurement, like for like nominal, ordinal, control. It's kind of confusing on that part.
Sure. Nominal and ordinal, what is it about those two? What sets them apart? Nominal, ordinal. What kind of data are they fundamentally?
Categorical.
Categorical, the qualitative. Nominal means name, right? So if I said cars in the parking lot, names of cars in the parking lot, that's nominal, right?
Yeah.
Ordinal is names that want to be in a certain order. So if I said, rank your experience at this restaurant, poor, fair, good, excellent, right? You with me? That would be ordinal. Because they are words, but they want to be in a certain order to make full sense.
So if a cop pulls over people per day.
Number of people, right?
Yeah.
So that's not going to be one of those two, because these are just categorical. It's going to be interval or ratio. And how do you tell which one? I always rule out ratio. Does 0 mean what it should? So if I said the number of apples I see in a tree, what level is that? Well, it's number, so it's going to be interval or ratio. Does 0 mean what it's supposed to mean? What would 0 mean in that case?
There's no apples.
There's no apples. So sure enough, 0 would mean no apples in that tree.
Yeah.
Do you guys see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A little bit?
Yeah.
No. So why is temperature not ratio? Then our temperature that we use in America, the Fahrenheit,
Because
we're crazy.
0 does not.
0 doesn't mean,
what it's supposed to.
because what does it measure? The amount of heat. And 0 does not mean the absence of heat. That's what 0 is supposed to mean. You guys with me? So I rule out, if I know it's a number, I say it's a ratio, and if 0 doesn't mean what it should, then I know it's got to be interval. And the interval means what?
Subtraction.
Subtraction makes sense. I like it. Okay. Yes. Say again. Sorry.
She's thinking.
Okay.
So
Okay.
the-
Remember, you can make corrections. Yes.
I'll just.
Okay.
The percentage on the quiz that had so I don't remember the numbers exactly, but it said something like we're satisfied. Oh no, agree.
Oh, sure.
So
Yeah.
that would have been.
I don't want to give that away. I'm not going to do
Okay.
your quiz for you. But yeah, if I say, remember, we did that on the handout. We did that on the practice
It
thing.
was like.
I gave you percentages and it didn't mean
Yeah.
shit. 30% have blonde hair,
So it's
40% have
nominal.
brown hair.
No, it's nominal.
That's nominal. The percentages are what I did with the data. They weren't the data. So that would definitely be nominal. What was I asking people? What color hair you got? Right? And a few of them had to say bald, man. I'm like, all right. Nothing wrong with that. Okay. If I ever start going bald, I'm just going to go for it. I don't want to be one of those people holding on. Anyway, sorry. I don't want to say too much because some of us might be there. I don't know. Anything else from homework or quiz? Okay, let's get back into it. We're finally going to transition into more calculation stuff, which some of us appreciate, especially related to the definitions.
Yeah.
Right? I did start you, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I did. So, this word has come up already, and I haven't really said exactly what this means, the mean, but what does that mean?
Average.
Average. And of course, math people, we like 4-letter words to start with M.
Yeah.
So we just made average mean. Now, to be really honest, the word average actually indicates several different things. In English language, we normally think average is mean, but in reality, it's not true. The mean is a type of average. So that's the official name for what we think of as average is mean. Can somebody tell me in English how to calculate the mean for a set of data?
Sum of all and then divide by.
the number.
Okay, so let me capture that. So in English, you add them all up and divide by
The number of
data
points.
Kick ass. We all agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to translate this into mathish. So here comes our first little baby equation. And it's an equation we don't really need, but I want to show you what it looks like using the symbols. What's another name? What's the official name for add?
Sum.
Sum.
So
And it starts with the letter S.
sigma.
So what the awesome math people did was they said, we want to make this really, so we're going to use Greek letters to make it look all, official. So atom is going to be this symbol. That's uppercase sigma. And again, don't forget, I gave you all the Greek letters on the back of that one handout. So that's a really good thing to have just sitting there next to you. It's big ass sigma. Lowercase sigma is going to mean something later today. So this doesn't mean shit by itself, though. It's sort of like if I said, what's the square root? What's missing?
The number?
Of what, Jeff? Okay, so sum up. All right. So what is
Data.
The data points, and what letter indicates all of the data values at once? What letter do we use in algebra to indicate a bunch of different values? X, right? Doesn't X represent all the possible values?
Mm-hmm.
So if I have a list of data, I can call them values of X. If I have another list of data with it, like the grade you make and the number of beers you drank last night, that would be X's and these would be Y's, because we're really creative. Yes?
Sorry, so you're saying that squiggle is alpha?
No, it's not.
Hell no, that's sigma.
Okay, I was
Sigma.
thinking like,
All right,
okay.
I'm trying to be.
Okay.
I mean, I can't make it any better than that. This is called sigma. It looks like a big E, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Yes.
that's one of the better pictures I saw, but they are using a certain font, and you know, yeah. Okay. Sum up the data points. So that's what that looks like. Divided by, now what letter do you think we're going to use always for the number of data points?
And
Yeah, it's crazy.
super fun.
So there's our first little formula. Let's talk about that symbol real quick. So if my x's look like this, what you got, Jeff? What is the sum of x?
Nine.
29, right? I mean, that's right. That's that. What's what? Sum these. Do I have these? Yes. Let me add them up. So what if I wanted, instead of this, what if I wanted this? Be really careful here. Does that mean just square 29?
No, you split.
Shit, no. If I wanted to square 29, that would mean square that, right?
So then you score each.
So that would be 29 squared, which is, you can do it, Jeff. Wait, stop.
840.
Ah, come on. It's almost there. All right, whatever that is. So I really, let me say again what I just said. If they ask me for the sum of x, do I have the x's? Yes, so then I can just add them up. What does this want from me?
Out of
The sum of the x squares. Do I have the x squares?
No.
Do I? No. So let me write this down. So we're going to see a whole frickin' bunch of formulas with that big ass E in it, right? Which is sigma. What you do is you cover it and you say, oh, I need a bunch of those. I need a bunch of those. So then I can add them up. So what's the x squares here?
9, 25, 81, 144.
Yeah, buddy. These are all ones you should know how to square. And then, whatever the hell that is. 259?
Yeah.
Everybody see how that symbol works? A big part of any math class is translating the symbols in the class into English. So for the same set of data, don't say anything, can you guys calculate what this would be?
Yeah.
Take a minute, try to do it. So again, just to remind you, what do you need a column of? You need a column of those.
Mm-hmm.
So if you make that column, then you can just add it up. That's what it wants you to do. So you have to have the stuff inside before you can freaking add them up. Let that make sense. So if you make a column of x minus 2's, there's a shortcut to this, but let's see. What do you get for x minus 2? 1,
3,
3,
7,
7,
and 11.
10.
10, sorry.
And that is, of course, 21. Do you guys see that?
Yeah.
If you cover that, you say, I need a column of those so I can do what that wants me to do. It's that simple. Freaky ass symbol that means something very simple. That's basically sums up math. A bunch of freaky ass symbols, which means something very simple. Sometimes not so simple. Okay. There was a shortcut real quick. If I add the x's up, I get 29. There's 4 of them, right? Right? if I have 4 numbers and I make each one go back down by 2, the whole thing went down by 8. 29 minus 8 is 21. Anyway, sorry, that's not useful for anything in general, though. I love you guys. If you don't know what I just said, you're fine. Okay, so I'm going to take this away so we can keep going with our stuff here. What is the mean capture for a set of data? What's the mean trying to figure out for a set of data where the what is? What do you think? The mean tries to figure out where the... If I calculated the mean for this and I got 13, how do you know that's wrong?
Because it's larger than the.
Where should the average be? Somewhere in the
middle.
middle. So what's the mean try to do? Figure out where the middle is. It's called a measure of center. There are more than one measure of center. So we're going to talk about some more. Oh shit. All right, dueling. So we got this here. So just to give you an idea of why we might need another measure of center. Anybody ever walked out in La Jolla and just dreamed about even being invited in some of those houses, let alone live in them? No? You're like, I don't even want to go there, man. I don't want to do that to myself. All right, I do sometimes. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh well. Just kidding. So if I calculated the average house price, the mean house price for San Diego, why is that not accurate? What is it about the data? Are all the data close together, or are there some data points that are very extreme? Yeah, right? What about if I had a company and I was about to start working there, and there were currently 4 people that work there. This is thousands. So these 3 guys make 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, and then there's the CEO, right? With me?
Yeah.
If I want to know how much can I expect to make at this company, and they tell me the average,
It wouldn't make sense.
is that an accurate measure of center to use?
No.
No. So both of these examples have the same problem. They have numbers that are outliers. So more accurate measure of center is actually what we would normally think center means. And we already know what this thing is. The center would be, what would we call what I keep pointing at here? The center is what do we call this? The number that's right in the middle. What percentile is that? 50th percentile. But what we're going to officially call it is the median. Why does that word make sense? Where's the median in a road? In the middle. Now, just like percentiles, this is a percentile. It's just got a special name. It's P50, right? That's what P50 means. The number that cuts it in half. Everybody with me? But we call it the median. It's the most special kind of percentile because it is a measure of center. What would the median income up here be? Oh my God, Jeff. I gave it away earlier. What would the median be?
45. Wait,
Huh?
45.
What's in the middle?
40.
There's no number in the middle, is there? There's 2 numbers in the middle. So what do? I take the average of those.
which
What's
is
in the middle then?
45.
45. So if somebody said, oh yeah, you can expect to make about $45,000, that's a lot more accurate.
True.
I'm not talking about my first year, but over time. Around 45,000. That's much better than if I average those. You're going to try to do it, aren't you, Jeff? Yeah. 180,000, I think it is. So we said, yeah, you can expect to make about 180,000. I'm like, holy shit. You with me?
Sign me up.
Yeah, okay. All right, maybe. So the median, the symbol for the median, oh, I totally left that out up here. All right, let's go back up to the mean real quick. Well, let's do this. The median symbol is X with a wavy dude on it, a little tilde on top. That's the median. The mean is interesting. A population mean, let's do sample mean would be X with a bar on it. Population mean So let me stop for a second. If I had two sets of data, the first data set is the x's. So if I find their average, x bar. The second set of data is the y. So if I find their average, y bar. So the little bar on top means the sample mean of that data set. Population, now again, population, we want to be more like gross population. So we're going to use Greek letters, and this is the French cow. This is the mu. I know it looks like an M. It's actually a U with an extra leg. You guys doing all right? I can't tell. Nothing major here. All we're talking about is the symbol used to describe something, right? So yes, they're Greek letters. Get over it. We're not going to suddenly have to know how to speak Greek. But this symbol, mu, is the population mean. X bar, sample mean. Later we're going to see another Greek symbol for population and an R letter for sample. That's what we can kind of generalize for the moment. Okay. So median is just another name for P50. So you can just, we already know how to find that. Right? We just have to get familiar with the symbol for it. Okay. All right. So another measure center. Now watch this. These two only work with numerical data, correct? Quantitative data. Okay. There is a measure center that works with qualitative data. It's called the mode. Anyone know what the mode is? I always think about pi a la mode.
Isn't mode like the one thing that's the most?
Yes, mode occurs the most. It's the thing that occurs the most. Is there only one C in occurring? I don't know.
No, you're spelled it right.
Yay! So for example, if I saw 47 BMWs and 110 Hondas and 38 Pintos, I don't know if you guys even know what Pintos are. What was the modal class of car? Hondas. Yeah, you guys with me?
Mm-hmm.
You like it? So let's do a more, get out there one. Let's do a numerical example. What's the mode here? Amazing. 1. Wow. What's the mode here?
1 and 2.
There's no.
Good.
Wait.
So bicycle has 2 wheels, right? So if a thing has 2 modes, it's bimodal.
Bimodal.
So it's bimodal. 1 and 2. What about here? 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 4. 3. There's a winner, right? Don't just say all the repeats are the modes. There's a clear winner. 3, 1. Unlike the Iowa Concord. Yes.
What about when there isn't one? Will we
Oh,
ever
then
find-
yeah.
Then you just don't have it.
This one, is there a mode? No mode.
Okay.
Yep. So here the mode is definitely 3. By the way, it goes up to trimodal and then we just go no. So what mode tries to do is it tries to see where the data is clustering. Does it seem to be clustering somewhere? So once we get more than 3 places, then it's not really clustering anywhere. So we go up to trimodal. And then we just kind of say no more. That's it. Okay, maybe. Okay. All right. So those are not evil. You've got to just try out the homework. Those are calculation-wise simple. And you came into this class knowing this one for damn sure. I like it. There is one more. Take this away. One more. The book doesn't really talk about this one, but I will ask you about this one. It's called the mid-range. Remind me what the range is. What's the range?
From the how far?
Sure.
From
What is it mathematically?
Oh, like
What's
the
the
high-
equation?
high
High
range.
minus low.
Yeah.
So the mid-range is the number that is in the middle of the range.
Oh,
What is a little evil about it is, how do I find the middle of any two numbers? I take the average. And what does average involve? Adding the two numbers. So if I take high plus low divided by 2, that's going to be the middle of the range. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That's another measure of center. And of course, it's evil because we're used to subtracting to get the range, so people subtract here. Shit, makes no sense. It's supposed to be an average. Average is adding stuff. Okay, I'm well aware that it's evil, and I accept it. Okay. Okay, so let me ask you this. I'm going to wait for your questions on that because that should be not too evil. So you got to get into to homework and try these out. See if any of them are evil. You guys definitely know about the website Rate My Professors.
Yeah.
I still remember I was back on the East Coast. I remember the year this was. I think it was the early 2000s. Some of you guys are like, oh, that was about 2. Shut up. And word got out about this new website. So the next day, I could tell which of my colleagues had gone in and rated themselves. You know, this one philosophy professor, essence of the essence, chili pepper. I'm like, get out of here.
Chili pepper.
Yeah. There's another website that thankfully you have to pay for, but it will actually give you grade distributions for a teacher over several years. I'm not going to tell you what it's called. You guys can look it up. Because unfortunately, you're going to look for well, not all of you guys. I don't want to say that as a blanket. But you should not look for the one that gives nothing but A's. Because you will feel very unfulfilled. And some of you guys are like, I'm cool with that. I just want an A. Shut up. Stop. But let me ask you this then. Let's say that you have 2 teachers. They teach at the same time. They have all the same Rate My Professor crap. And then when you look at their grades, they both give an average of a C. Is there something else we can look at to tell which one to take? Yes. So the measure of where the center isn't good enough to distinguish data sets from each other, right? You guys semi with me? So let me just tell you this, and then we'll look at a numerical example. So if I said the teacher A, let's not call him teacher. Let's say that Bob gives everywhere from A through F. You with me?
Yeah.
Okay. And let's say we're at university where a D is passing. You guys know that, right? Here, D doesn't transfer, but at university, D passes. So next time you drive over a bridge, go, please tell me this is not the D student who made this. So let's say that Bob gives A through F. And let's say that Denise, I don't know where that name came from, she gives B through D. You with me? A through F, B through D. They both have a C average. Is there any reason you might take one or the other? If you know you're going to kick this class's ass,
You want to take the one that gives it.
you want to take the one that actually gives A's. I can speak to this. I get the highest score in this one damn class, and I got a B, and I'm like, what the? He was waiting for some kind of deity to come there, and they would still make an A minus. You guys sign up with me?
Yeah.
So knowing the spread of data, that's what we have to figure out next. How can I get a measure of how spread out the data is? Because just knowing where the middle is not enough to make certain decisions, right? But if I knew where the middle was and I knew how spread out the data was, holy shit, I basically know what the thing looks like without you telling me any data points. So for example, let me give you a real life example. A normal average for like a test is, to be honest, about a 75, maybe. And the standard and the spread, we're going to give it a symbol and all that kind of stuff in a minute, is normally about 13. So what that means is, on average, students' grades got 13 away from 75. Let me say that again. This means that on average, everybody's grades got about 13 away, up and down, from 75. Right? Could some people be further than that? Yes, because that's just an average distance from the middle. So what I just said is exactly what we want to call spread. I want the spread to be on average, how far did data points get from the middle? So if I had a data set like this, let me give us some numbers. Here, let's make it really boring. Let's do this. Make it easier for me in a minute. All right, that's a boring ass data set. What would the spread, if whatever the spread's gonna be, it's gotta be what for this? You can do it.
0.
0. What's the mean for this? What's the mean of 5s? 5, right? On average, how far do the data points get away from 5?
0.
None.
Yeah.
None of them get away from 5. None of them left home. Right? The parents like, good God, get out of here. So the spread would be 0. Right? So we'll look at these two data sets. Let's make some more interesting data sets here. 1, 5, 5, 5. You can do it, Jeff. Yeah. 9. And 1, 2, 5, 8, 9. Take a minute and figure out the mean for both of those. Do this for me. Figure out the mean, the median, and the mid-range for both of those. Go.
Is it 5, 5, and, sorry.
And I didn't say this, but these, let's say these are both populations, very small populations. Doesn't really change anything I asked for here. So the mean for this one, of course, is 5. Is everybody getting that?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you see it? See, I went down by 4. And on this one, I went up by 4. So of course the mean is still 5. It still adds to be the same thing. Even if you didn't see that, when you do it, you get 5. And down here, the mean is also 5 because I went down 3 and I went up 3. Do you have to actually see that? No. But that's how I made sure the mean would still stay the same. What's the median here? 5. What's the median here? Crazy. And what's the mid-range?
5.
Both of them are going to be 1 plus 9 divided by 2. So the mid-range
5.
is 5 there too. Okay, Jeff. So in terms of center, if that's all the analysis we do, it looks like they're both the same, but I can see they're not both the freaking same. What about the range? What's the range for both? What's the range? We can do it.
4.
Range is high
Minus
low.
over 2.
No,
Wait. Oh,
not
that's
mid-range. Range. How far does this data set go?
right. So
8. How far does this data set go?
8.
8. So even the range doesn't distinguish between them. Do you understand what I'm trying to say here?
Mm-hmm.
The measures of center don't distinguish